more aggressive on the offensive end, but this is the kind of
Williams to Demon. Bucks. Goodbye. Oh, if you don't like that, you don't like NBA basketball.
Yes, the NBA has begun. The first game is in the books with the Celtics, the world champs, looking very much like the world champs. Boy, they just destroyed the Knicks 132-109, and the Lakers are leading Minnesota 53-42. Of course, the Kings host the Timberwolves on Thursday, Rhino, and the Kings got very good news at practice today.
Yes, they did. Both Kevin Huerter and Trey Lyles participated in practice. Grant, Coach Brown had this to say about Kevin Huerter and the possibility of him playing on Thursday night. We're not loading. Basically, sorry about that. Kevin Huerter will be in the starting lineup if he is available to play, Grant.
Well, it seems to me he's going to be available unless he has a setback when he wakes up in the morning, which I find hard to believe. So interesting that he doesn't have a minute of preseason action, and yet Mike Brown would put him into the starting lineup.
He's been incredibly loyal to Kevin, and I don't know how much that has to go into it, or if you don't lose your job by injury. But I got to think, Grant, the Kings lose something defensively, even though they're not a great defensive team.
And, of course, history made in Los Angeles tonight. Bronny James did enter the game with 4 minutes left to go in the first half and was on the floor with his father, LeBron. So hopefully that's just now in the past and we can move on. I mean, it's a great moment. I understand the significance of it. I get it. And I understand it needs to be covered and celebrated. But after tonight, let's move on, okay?
Yeah, I think they were going to get him in tonight because he's headed for the G League. We've talked about it. I think it's exactly what he needs. It's a better story of the two, Grant. If he can work his game and become a viable NBA player there, it helps the league and it helps the Lakers overall.
All right. If you want to get in on the program, you can do so. Don't forget Thursday pregame with Rhino, and then Jerry joins us at halftime. We'll have the postgame show as the Kings take on the Timberwolves. Minnesota does not look good in this first half, and I do believe this. I think it's an advantage for Minnesota that they're going to have a game under their belt when they go to Sacramento. Now, they may very well come back and win this game, but they have not looked good. I think this is kind of getting the rust out. Randall looks very rusty. I'm talking about Julius Randle, their new acquisition. They're playing, obviously, now without Karl Anthony Towns after the big trade, so it's a little bit of a different look. Maybe it takes a little time to get the kinks out. They're not rebounding well. I'm talking about Minnesota. They're turning the ball over a lot. I expect them to be a lot better in game two.
Yeah, Julius Randle, you hit the nail on the head. He looks a little bit tentative, especially with that three-point shot in game one. And Grant, the way that teams shoot the three ball against the Kings, let's hope that does not get worked out prior to Thursday.
All right, I did a rant on this today, and I've never understood this, and I'm going to continue to say this, especially in football. When games are over, coaches refuse to admit that the game is over because they got this macho, well, we need to show everyone that we're not quitters and we play until the end. The game last night with Tampa and Baltimore was a blowout. And the Bucs kept on trying and kept on sending the number one unit out. And I know guys can get hurt at any time. I understand that. But what you're doing is you're throwing the ball, you're throwing the ball, you're throwing the ball. Your quarterback's getting killed. He's getting sacked. And now you lose another receiver in Chris Godwin with a minute left in the game because you're trying to throw the ball downfield when the game's already over. It's just stupidity to me. It really is. To me, it's stupidity.
Yeah, but it's par for the course a lot of times with football. We've seen much bigger leads or much bigger deficits, and the starting quarterbacks and the starters are still trotted out there. In that circumstance, I don't know that Todd Bowles deserves to get completely killed. They had a tiny bit of momentum. Their percentage was maybe 1% to win the game, but you were within 2 scores. So it's a tough one for me, Grant. I could see it going either way.
Again, their season's over now. So good for Todd Bowles. Your season's over without your receivers, but that's okay. Again, it's the macho. It's like I don't understand it. I really don't. But I'll tell you one thing. I understand Baltimore. They look really, really good.
They look special. No signs of slowing down. Right. Derrick Henry, real deal. How about really quick, if we want to talk about Godwin, how about the way that he handled that? Can you imagine the composure in that moment dealing with an injury like that?
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Don't forget tomorrow, 3:00, right here, on, if you don't like that, Sean Salisbury. So very much looking forward to Sean Salisbury tomorrow. We'll talk about this and more. And again, coming up at 3:00. Halftime, the Lakers lead the Timberwolves 55-42. I thought the first quarter was an awful quarter of basketball. Terrible. The Lakers and the Timberwolves both struggling. I'll tell you one thing, and I made this comment last week, and I don't want to blow it out of proportion based on what I've seen, but I think the Kings are going to regret big time passing on Dalton Knecht, who was on the board, a position that the Kings really needed, and instead they went guard. And to me, Knecht looks like he's going to be special. Again, I know I'm really jumping out there based on preseason and a couple of minutes of his first NBA game. He looks like he belongs. He looks like he's going to be the real freaking deal. And he also looks like exactly what the Sacramento Kings needed, and they didn't draft him.
Well, it's funny that you say it's exactly what the Kings needed. At that time, we didn't know what the identity of this team was going to be because we saw that last half of the season where it was really rounded around defense, and they improved some. But now we're clearly seeing offense is what's going to take this team to the dance. He's instant offense, Grant. A shot is a shot is a shot in the NBA, especially right now. And the Lakers, good young player for them, and could possibly haunt the Kings, but we're not going to know for a couple of years till we see what Devin Carter does.
He's a much better Sasha Vezenkov at the same position with a shot that's very good. I think Knecht, if he stays healthy, is going to develop into a hell of an NBA player. He just looks like he belongs already.
The game doesn't look too fast for him.
No.
He looks composed out there. And Grant, he fell. Nobody had him at that point in the draft. You know why he fell? Because of his age, a lot of people said. And you're seeing guys like this that have a little bit more seasoning on them. They're ready to play, contribute right away. There's a lot to be said about that.
Well, look at Devin Carter's age. I mean, guys, look at when Tyrese Halliburton came into the NBA because of it. You know, these guys are more ready to play. You're absolutely correct.
Keegan Murray, the list goes on, and that becomes the tricky thing with NIL because our guy's going to be in as big of a rush to get to the NBA. Football, a little bit of a different story because you have a minimum, but Dalton Knecht, you're right. That was the position of need.
Yes, it was. And he looks like he's going to be really good. Don't forget a rant with Grant. Give me your rant ideas, and I will give you a rant. And again, really love to have you join us beginning on Thursday as the Kings begin game 1 of 82. Let's get more into Kevin Huerter. You talk about the loyalty of Mike Brown. Assuming that happens, and again, let's just talk as if it's going to happen.
Sure.
What does that say about Keon Ellis?
Man, that's a great question, Grant. I think it says that Mike sees his role better fit off the bench, sees him as a mix-up defender, a guy that you throw a different look at. Now, we've always said it doesn't matter who starts the game. It matters who finishes the game. But certainly, I'll kick this back to you. I think with Kevin Huerter, if he's coming off the bench, you know what his role probably is. Keon Ellis, I'm not sure what it is, Napes.
To me, I'll tell you what it signals. It signals to me that Mike Brown is dealing with reality. And the reality is he knows his team is only going to win if they can outscore the other team. Now, I know you have to outscore the other team to win if it's even 80-79, but I'm using this as a description. I'm talking about run and gun, score the hell out of the ball. You have DeMar DeRozan with Fox Sabonis. You put Huerter on the floor with Keegan Murray. And you're a defensive coach trying to game plan that offense. Good luck. Mike Brown's going to roll the ball out and go, you really think you can outscore us? Let's go. Here's my 5. Put your 5 out. We can't stop you, but you sure as hell aren't going to stop us either. That's how I think Mike Brown's looking at this.
And I think that's the way that you have to look at it. If you look at the strengths of this team and throw away the preseason, we've talked about that. The ball's going to go in at some point. Yep. The spacing certainly gets better with Kevin Huerter on the floor. You can not hang off him as much as you can hang off Keon Ellis. But conversely, Kevin Huerter is not getting through ball screens like Keon Ellis does. He doesn't free De'Aaron Fox up on the other side of the court the same way.
It's going to be interesting if they do start Huerter. And listen, Mike Brown can make a change 5 minutes in if he wants. It's not like it's nailed down. It can be changed, and it's only one game. So again, I'm talking about only one game. I know Minnesota's a good team. but they don't look good right now. That was a bad half of basketball from Minnesota. They didn't play well at all in any part of that first half. They looked awful.
And it goes to show you the preseason means nothing. They looked great in the preseason, and they come out and play a regular season half like that. I am going to give a little bit of credit to the Lakers. They looked good. Rui Hachimura looked very good in that first half, and Jackson Hayes as well. The Lakers, they had to drop into zone, actually, the Timberwolves, for a few possessions because of the Lakers' size.
I thought Van Gundy made a very interesting point on the telecast tonight, Stan Van Gundy. He said, isn't it interesting that one team, Minnesota, was in the Western Conference Finals last year, and they made a huge trade and changed the look of their team, and the other team lost in the play-in, and they didn't make any changes.
Respectfully, priorities. It's what we've seen out of LeBron James, and make no doubt about it, he is the decision maker in Los Angeles to me, Napes. Look, you've got to, what did the New York Knicks do this year to get better? They were on the other side of that trade. They also made some other bigger, important moves. Jalen Brunson taking less money. It's risk taking. You can't sit back with what you have. And if anybody knows that, it's Sacramento with what we dealt with last year.
And remember, the Kings play in LA against the Lakers on Saturday, and they'll be able to watch the Lakers play while they're in their hotel, because the Lakers play at Phoenix the night before. So the Kings getting a nice little break early, getting the Lakers on the second of a back-to-back.
Yeah, in fact, all three of the Kings' opponents after the Timberwolves are on back-to-backs, but the latter part of that one, the Kings are also on a back-to-back. So they'll be getting a little break.
Take advantage of it. Take advantage of it.
Grant, you've said they've got to get started hot this season out of the gate. And when you look at the schedule, they certainly do. It lines up that way. If you can get past Minnesota, you've got Los Angeles, Portland, Utah, and then you hit the road for another East Coast road trip earlier in the season. Atlanta, Toronto, Miami, and then Toronto again, scheduling.
Yep. Stupid. And understand that the Kings beat the Lakers all 4 times last year.
Yes.
So, the Lakers they couldn't figure out the Kings. I know it's only the first week, but I think from the Lakers' perspective, this is going to be an important game for them. I know it's a divisional game, conference game, but I just think it's almost like when Sacramento ends up playing New Orleans this year. They have to win a game against them early. Just get that bad taste out of your mouth from last year.
Yeah, and JJ Redick wants this team to shoot more 3 balls in the Lakers. Yep. They've been talking about that on the telecast. And the Lakers, through 24 minutes, look like they're trying to play a touch more physical, which the Kings were able to out-physical them, even though they were a smaller team last year.
All right, again, 55-42 is the score. All right, 55-42, and the Lakers lead at the half.
What was the biggest thing besides the 3-pointers in the Boston-New York game that stuck out to you about the Celtics?
To me, the Celtics, they're the same team I watched last year. Nothing really stuck out to me. They have the best talent in the league. They're the best team in the league, and they already look like it tonight. Nothing really surprised me. What about you?
Turnovers. It was along the same lines, how polished they are. The chemistry is there. They wait for Porzingis to come back, but 4 turnovers on opening night. It's a pretty strong effort.
All right. Again, if you want to get in on the program, all you need to do is give us a shout, hit the link, and you can come on and talk to us. Again, we are talking not only NBA, but NFL as well. We got the World Series starting this weekend. So if you have any thoughts on that, we are happy to do it. Cody says Chargers and Cardinals so up and down, week to week, unpredictable, very inconsistent, very inconsistent. Here's what you know about the NFL. The Chiefs are consistent, right? Everyone in the NFC North looks consistent. The Steelers with Mike Tomlin are consistent. That's what you have in the National Football League. That's the consistency right now of the league.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much spot on. The rest is the inconsistency, but you do know a few teams will fall off eventually and a few teams will get hot. So you've got to look for that. Who can make it through the attrition, get through their bye week and be strong.
This weekend, you have San Francisco and Dallas. Last year, the Niners absolutely embarrassed the Cowboys. The question with San Francisco, who's going to be lining up? We talked about Deebo Samuel being in the hospital with pneumonia. Generally speaking, when you're talking about your lungs, and I'm not a doctor, okay?
Yeah.
That's not something that just gets better overnight.
No, Debo was released earlier today
Yeah.
from the hospital, but I talked about it on the 2 o'clock show. I'm not an athlete anymore. I went through pneumonia this last summer, and it took me a good 6 to 8 weeks to get right pain wise. I can't imagine any world that he can contribute this weekend.
Yeah, I don't know what form of pneumonia they said he had. Again, I'm trying to. It's if you're in the hospital, okay.
You're getting IV antibiotics. That's why you're
Yeah,
in the hospital.
that's right. But you're also, you don't go in a hospital for a picnic, okay? So the fact that he was hospitalized over this tells me that, okay, you need to be concerned. And it's now Tuesday, and I have to think that he's going to be on the football field running, up and down the field, catching balls, getting hit. It just doesn't seem very likely to me, but I'm speculating.
Yeah, it's pure speculation. I just don't. The way they use him too, Grant, it's not like he gets a ton of rest between plays. He's up and down the field. It's going to be a hard ask. And really, that's the smallest of the Niners' problems at this point. You got Brock Purdy coming off a bad game, and you've got an offense that where do they turn, Grant? Where the heck does this team turn?
They're going to have to run the ball because Dallas's run defense has been pitiful this year. So you have George Kittle, who's going to be big. You're going to have to run the ball, and if Debo's not on the field, I don't know who else you're going to throw the ball to. You got Jennings. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. Jennings was out before, so they've got to get.
That's right. Jennings was out. Pearsall, maybe. I don't know. Good question.
Yep, Jacob Cowling, can he make a couple big plays down the field? Can Brock Purdy get some protection? I think the Niners need to use Brock Purdy's legs as a little bit more of a threat to the defense. Now, he can run the ball at times. You don't want him running it a lot, but if you mix in some RPOs, that could really kind of keep the defense off balance and keep Dallas guessing.
All right. Again, we'd love to have you on. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. If you haven't already done so, give us a thumbs up. Kings and Timberwolves coming your way on Thursday. And we have got all the coverage right here, beginning with the pregame with Rhino in Sacktown. And we get you right up through halftime with Jerry Reynolds and the postgame show. It is coming your way on Thursday.
Did you catch Jerry Jones? Did you catch his act again today, Napes? He's back at it. So Jerry Jones, we all knew about last week, 105.3 The Fan in Dallas, who covers or carries the Dallas Cowboys games, threatened the host jobs, got on them about asking pointed questions. They straight up asked him today, Napes, do you have anything to say about last week? No. And then he goes on for about 2 minutes, including, well, if we had Derrick Henry probably wouldn't be having the season he's having because they have a complimentary back in Baltimore. We don't run the ball as much, and he just buried his hole even deeper.
Jerry Jones is a buffoon. I've talked about this on many occasions. He's now becoming an absolute embarrassment to the franchise. That's what he's at.
Absolutely.
That's what he's at.
Yeah. Here it is. Here it is for you if you want to hear it really quick.
Yeah. Multiple times, Jerry. You've provided us, radio gold, and it is a privilege to be able to do this show with you for 15 years. And we had some fireworks, and that's kind of the way I view it. Despite the payment and suspension and move the show and all that stuff, because we're usually in lockstep. So I understand that.
Listen, here's the thing: the fact that we've been doing it 15 years, shows that someplace in between there. We got comfortable in our skin doing these type things, and we did get comfortable with it. I'm tickled to death that we have as much interest in this as we do, and as you well know. But guys, I have no issue, and you know that. As a matter of fact, you've said that. I have no issue with getting up in front of a bunch of media and people of journalism and asking the question and answering, getting questions and answering. And I don't have any problem with that. Would you agree with that?
Yes, totally.
And again, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but the point is that we've, in my mind, we're not playing very good football right now at all. And it's beyond whether or not we have Derrick Henry or not. Derrick Henry is having a career year. I don't know if he'd be having that career year in our situation. And that's really something you really do have to look at. because if he had not had as many carries as our running backs have had, then he certainly probably wouldn't have attained the level of impact he's having. And then he's a real good complement to the type of offense they run. We don't run that type of offense.
If you're a Dallas fan, Grant, you're just throwing salt in the wound.
I don't know what to say other than it's time, Jerry. It's time. It's time. It's also time if you have plumbing issues, you need plumbing repairs. New Works Plumbing will be there for you. Just go to sackserviceplumbing.com or call the number on your screen, 916-713-1010. They are available around the clock for all of your plumbing needs and repairs. Just go to sackserviceplumbing.com and New Works Plumbing. And thinking of moving? Well, how about the newest residential community in Colusa? It is CalusaSunrise.com from Blazona Development. And again, if you go to CalusaSunrise.com, you'll get all the information on these beautiful models, 6 in all to choose from. Remember, there's no Melrose, there's no homeowners, good location, access to the major arteries across from the Colusa Golf and Country Club is where you will find Sunrise Landing in Colusa. Go to CalusaSunrise.com, CalusaSunrise.com, and check out Sunrise Landing. Jerry Jones doesn't really care what you think of him or what I think of him. He's got a tremendous ego, yes. He is a phenomenal businessman, maybe the best businessman in the history of the National Football League, okay? And I give him a lot of credit for that. What he's done in Dallas with that franchise is nothing short of amazing. All right, so I give him credit for that. The brand that is the Dallas Cowboys and what Jerry Jones has done with Jerry's World down there and their training facility and everything else is over the top, through the moon, around the moon, call it whatever you want, okay?
Top class, yeah.
But as a football person, he has been a disaster for the Dallas Cowboys. A disaster. There's no other way to say it. He has been a disaster for the Dallas Cowboys. 1 loss, playoff totals, playoff wins, playoff losses over the last 4 decades. He's been a disaster. A disaster.
There's no doubt he likes his share of the limelight, but you know what gets you the most limelight? Winning football games.
Yes.
And that's what he talks about. It seems at his core, that's what he wants the most for himself and the Dallas fans. But how somebody cannot advise him, you're kind of doing everything to go against that. I mean,
can't advise somebody that knows it all.
Well, and that's the problem. I mean, Grant, that's relatively true about a number of owners in sports. This seems to be in the neighborhood of the worst, in my opinion.
Again, the Cowboys are right now a bad football team. They've got a lot of injuries. They have a very overpaid quarterback. Their defense can't stop anybody. They're a mess right now. The only thing that I would say for them, and I can't include Washington in this group, but Philadelphia doesn't look like a powerhouse. The Giants are awful. So the Cowboys right now are still breathing, but that could be over in a hurry for them. You know?
Yeah, it goes both ways with San Francisco as well. You got the trade deadline coming up. Whoever loses that game makes you wonder who's going to be a buyer and who's going to be a seller at the deadline.
Patrick says, I wish the Giants had a stadium like this. I've been in both stadiums. MetLife Stadium's fine. There's nothing wrong with the stadium. The stadium in Dallas is, I can't really describe it. It's absolutely unbelievable. It's incredible. But I go to watch the game when I go to a football game. I'm not in the clubs. I'm not hanging out at the bars. I'm not watching a game inside the stadium on a TV. I'm in my seat watching a game. And the sight lines at MetLife Stadium are excellent. It's a tremendous stadium. So I don't think you need a stadium like Jerry's World unless you like all the bells and whistles. I'm not a bells and whistles guy. You know, I am when I fly. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
You know, I'm being very honest.
I agree with you 100%. Yes.
The only thing, when I fly and I'm on a long trip, and if I'm lucky enough to get upgraded or lucky enough to use points to fly business class, that stuff's very important to me because that's my passion. But when I go to a sporting event whether I go to Yankee Stadium or I'm at MetLife Stadium or if I go to Madison Square Garden as a fan, I don't give a damn about all the bells and whistles because I'm not going to the bells and whistles, okay? My ticket doesn't get me into where all the bells and whistles are. Doesn't mean much to me. I don't care. So, like, for instance, if I go to a game, well, I can't really say this because I've never done it, but if I were to go to a game in Sacramento, I'm probably not going to walk around that much and like hang out at the top where the beer garden is or whatever the hell you call it. I'm going to be in my seat watching the game. That's just what I am. That's what I do.
Yeah, no, I hear you. You can overdo it and ruin the sightlines. I think Staples Center, one of the earlier arenas that was really built up around the NBA, is one of the better ones. Is an awful arena for basketball.
I don't think it is I think it's one of the worst arenas in the league.
That's what I was saying. I think it's one of the. I was saying it was built up to be one of the best state of the art. I think it's one of the worst basketball arenas in the league to watch a game from.
I apologize for saying that while you were talking. I'm sorry. Here, look at me.
Stop it.
The sight lines are horrible.
Yes.
If you're anywhere behind the basket, Ryan, you can't see it. You're so far away from the action. It's like you're in another zip code.
Exactly right. You feel so far away from the court.
Hockey arena.
Yep. And Golden One Center, I'll say this, unless you are anywhere beer garden or below, it's a little bit of a tough watch, and it is a tight squeeze. It is very steep in tight above that second level. Really,
I've heard that for some people that have fears of height and things that walking from the top level down the stairway to get to the concourse for some people is very scary.
It is. Yes. My mom experienced that. Actually, she exactly experienced the same thing. It's a steep ask and a tight thing, but besides that, there are some good things for it.
But okay, so I'm going to go back to what you said. I agree with you exactly what you said. When I sat in my seats for the first time at the Golden One Center, the first thing that dawned on me was the leg room was horrible.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't bother me because I'm not sitting there, and it didn't matter for my wife. She's very small, and but for me, if I had to sit there, it would be very uncomfortable.
Sure. And you're 6'2". There's bigger people than you.
Yep.
Yeah, and it causes. We've had some conflicts too. If you have kids too, they bump into the seat in front of you accidentally, and they don't have enough room to kind of hang out, run around. It's Grant, it's how much can you jam into these stadiums? The Clippers, the Intuit Dome, they now have a section that goes straight up with no separation, trying to make it like a student section at a college game.
Let's get back to what you're expecting on Thursday, and we'll talk a lot more about this, with the pregame and what you do there, and we'll analyze the first half with Jerry, and then we'll have the postgame show. The Kings their identity this year is offense, offense, offense. I still think the key to the Kings this year is Keegan Murray. I think I already know what everyone else is going to do. To me, I think Keegan Murray is a difference maker on this team, and he will either propel this team into a top 5 or 6 playoff spot. And if he doesn't play well, I don't think the Kings will be a top 5 or 6 in the West.
Yeah, I completely agree. He's a factor, and we know he's going to do that on defense, Grant. His offense and what he's doing on that side of the court does not affect his effort on the other side. Here's what I'm looking at. Everybody is looking at DeMar DeRozan to be that stopper, the guy that get the Kings a bucket when they need it. The Kings had a stretch of 11 possessions without a field goal in their last game against the Clippers in the first half. I want to know who else besides DeMar DeRozan from this team is going to say, this is not acceptable. We need to go get a bucket now. We need to make a hard foul, because outside of DeMar DeRozan, this is basically the same core roster. Is that Keegan Murray possibly?
I do know this, with Kevin Huerter now and Trey Lyles available, regardless of whether Kevin starts or not, your bench just got a lot better.
To a degree. Now, Mike Brown talked about this today. Gammon talked a lot about the rotation. Here's what Mike Brown talked about, what he's thinking about and what he's experiencing going into this season.
Tough part about it is we've had a few injuries and in the preseason, and so This is probably the first time that I still feel like I don't have my hands wrapped all the way around what I want to do, because not everybody that's going to play during the regular season played in the preseason.
And that makes a difference.
Yes, it does.
Huge difference.
That's why I've been saying, do not judge this team on anything that happens Thursday. Judge this team after a sample size of at least 10 games. I like to go in 5-game increments. You know that I judge the season in 5-game increments. And I like to do that because I think it's a fair sample size. And it also will, very often, the momentum swings will play out. You're going to go through bad stretches where you lose a couple of games in a row, and then you're going to win a couple of games in a row. The schedule has a lot to do with that. Injuries have a lot to do with it. So I don't make too much out of any one game, win or loss. I just never have. I never have, unless it's a game 7 of a series. So I'm going to judge this team. I probably will not have a good read on this team until the middle of November, end of November. I really mean that.
I think that's fair. I think we'll start to get our first feelings when they come back from that East Coast road trip, which wraps up November 6th. Yep. One guy that I keep going back to, Grant, if he can stay healthy, I think Jordan McLaughlin is going to have an impact, a quiet impact on this team with the little things that we don't see on the stat sheets. And I think you're going to see him in the game and in Mike Brown's rotation late into the game if he's able to do those things he did in the preseason.
He's definitely going to be one of the new players to keep an eye on. And don't forget, beginning on Thursday, a rant with Grant, and it is brought to you by EDH Motors Automotive Reimagined. This is a long overdue new concept. No obligation to any franchise or big corporation. 2 guys, David and Adam, just trying to do something different and better. They offer new vehicle brokerage. They also offer vehicle consignments where they will sell your vehicle for you. All right. And of course, they can buy your car and they will sell pre-owned vehicles and even your RV or boat. Now, here's the website, all right, info@edhmotors.com. You'll take delivery at their auto lounge in El Dorado Hills. You don't have to go into a dealership. You're not going to get pressured by a manager. You're not going to get pushed into the F&I office. Again, go to info@edhmotors.com. EDH Motors, Automotive Reimagined. And we will start doing our rants with Grant big time on Thursday.
I've got a good one for you.
Yes.
I've already got one locked and loaded. I almost don't want to wait till Thursday, but I will.
Okay, well, if you want to have me warm up, I can do it now.
What about football players that think it's cool to drop the ball before they cross the goal line?
I've never understood it. I will never understand it because it happens every single year and almost every single week.
Yes.
It just is beyond comprehension to me. And you don't only see it in the high schools, you see it in the National Football League.
Correct.
And you're like, what on earth, right?
I'm trying to wrap my arms around what could be so cool about dropping the ball as quickly as you can. Where's the drip in that, as the kids would say, Apes? I don't get it.
I know one thing. If I'm a coach and that happens, that player's not going on the field for the rest of the game and maybe not for the rest of the season. I'm going to make that very well known before we even play one game. I'm going to make it very, very clear. If you do something stupid crossing a goal line and you drop the ball because you're trying to be cool, you can go play and be cool for somebody else. You're not being cool for me.
Go do that on the practice squad.
Yeah,
you can drop the ball all you want. Hey, hell, it almost costs Oregon.
Whoa. Let me stop here. You got to admit it looks pretty cool. No, it doesn't look pretty cool.
It does not.
Stupid. What the hell's wrong with you? It looks pretty cool. What kind of asinine comment is that? It looks pretty cool. It doesn't. It looks stupid.
I'm not going to say it's asinine, but I don't get it. I don't think it looks cool. I just don't understand why. So there you go. That might be a legitimate answer. People think it looks cool, Nabes. It almost cost the number 1 team in the nation, Oregon, against Boise State.
Yes.
Holy crap. Drip dropped the ball in 6 points. Yeah, see? There you go.
Unbelievable.
Grant,
hey, folks. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, this time of year, buddy, I asked Jerry Reynolds the same question earlier today.
Yeah.
Basketball tip-off, getting ready for 82. What kind of feelings does that bring up in you?
for me, it was just like a light switch going off in my life that I knew for the next 6 months, my life was going to completely regimented based on an NBA schedule in terms of flying, the workload. Listen, I've never thought that what I've done is hard. I never thought it was taxing, but there were long days for me, especially if I had to fly out before the team and leave, let's say at 7 a.m. Like there were many times where I'd have a game the night before. And because of the travel schedule, I had to get up early, go to the airport, take a commercial flight to get to the city so I could be on the air doing my show at 3. And if it was on the East Coast, that means the show didn't even start until 6. And then I got off at 10. You know, those were long days.
Sure.
And then if I was on the West Coast, I still would have to take a commercial flight because the team always leaves at 3 p.m. to go to West Coast games. And, you know, again, it's a commercial flight, which I don't really mind, but, you know, you're getting in a taxi, you're going to a radio station, you're hoping that the engineers got the equipment set up and ready to go. You hope the connection's good. You go on from 3 to 7. And by the time you get a ride to get back to the hotel and check in, it's 7:30, 7:45. You know, grab something to eat, have an easy night, get up and, you know, get ready to go to the arena the next day at the Staples Center to do a show at 3, work from 3 to 6 and get ready to do the game at 7:30. So for me, it was just like, okay, time to get to work. You had a good summer. You know, you didn't have to work as much. Now you're going to do double duty. You're going to be traveling a lot. You're going to be doing, you know, maybe some days 7 or 8 hours of broadcasting on a day. And you know this. There were days where I would fly down to LA, do Jim Rome in the morning, okay, fly back to Sacramento, do my show at 3, and do a Kings game that night. I had a couple of triple headers.
That's right.
And I was always so grateful for that opportunity. Like if you had told me as a kid or as a student in college that one day I would be hosting a national radio show, then hosting a local radio show, and then announcing an NBA game in the same day, like the hair would have stood up in my arms, you know, like that would have been the ultimate dream. I love days like that. It was a challenge for me to get prepared to do a national radio show in the morning, get on a flight, hurry back to Sacramento, do a 3-hour show, and then an NBA game, and have a lot of energy for the NBA game, which I took a lot of pride in. Like that was like, for me, it was like a triathlon. Like I geared up for that mentally. It invigorated me. Like it was such a turn on for me to be able to do that. Like there's nothing better for me than those days that I had when I was doing all 3 at once.
What a grind. Long ways from the obituary report with Klotz Flowers as the sponsor, buddy. A long way.
Yeah. Those were the days. Klotz Flowers on East Wooster Street.
Yes, thank you. Don't
forget about on East Wooster Street. That's
East
right.
Wooster Street, putting the dot on it and crossing
How
the
about
D.
that? East Wooster Street. You can't forget that, right? In good old Bowling Green, getting up at 5:15 in the morning when the wind chill was 15 below and get my ass to WKIQ radio, open up the door, turn on the heat as quickly as I could, shivering as I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to talk about and play the music at 6 o'clock. I'm freaking dying in the radio station because it's so cold.
You got to keep the energy, right? You can't be too excited when you're reading that. You can't bring the energy there. Speaking of that, you have different levels of energy. You have different audiences per se. Some audience may only see you one time out of those 3 days, or out of those 3.
Those were great days for me too, because I did everything. I was the morning disc jockey. Then I would do sales during the day, radio sales as an account executive. And then I would announce games at night, very often Division I hockey or whatever. And I was making, I think it was $225 was my take-home pay every 2 weeks for doing all of that.
I'd love it. Would have done it for free, probably.
I would have,
Yep. Damn right.
Yep. All right. Don't forget about Bennett's. You want great meal, oh, prime
boy.
seafood and steak at Bennett's. Whether it's their brunch on the weekends, they have tremendous happy hours, sips and tastes, 2 to 6. And Rhino, you were saying now you don't even have to go to Bennett's, right?
No, go to Bennett'sRestaurants.com if you want to order to go. You can get your order in, easy pickup, all the same great offerings right there for you at Bennett'sRestaurants.com.
Yep, check it out. Prime seafood and steak at Bennett's. We're gearing up for Thursday pregame, halftime at Joey Reynolds, postgame. All right, we can't wait. Thursday. Giants Steelers prediction. I'm just hoping the Giants score a touchdown. That's the only thing I'm really hoping for. I'm hoping that the Giants score a touchdown. They will not beat Pittsburgh, but I'm hoping they can at least score a touchdown. That to me would be a crowning achievement if the Giants could score a touchdown at home.
They could score a touchdown at home. Yeah, it's been a struggle at home. What do you think about Dable pulling Jones from the game? Any issue with that?
Yeah, I don't have a problem. The game was over, and
yeah,
the Giants now are in deep trouble because they're arguably the best left tackle or one of the best left tackles in football. Thomas is now out for the year, so they're in deep trouble. Deep trouble.
I was hoping you found something in Seattle with that running game, but they've not been able to get it back since then, and that certainly will not help.
All right. What do you got going on tomorrow? I'm going to be doing my show at 3:00 with Sean Salisbury.
Nothing. Clearing the way for you. Can't wait to watch that. And then maybe something tomorrow night. We will see. You and I will talk.
Sounds great. Enjoy your evening, everyone. We're gearing up for Thursday. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up. We really appreciate the thumbs up. I don't know how these analytics work. I just know it's important. So would you do me a favor and Ryan a favor, and please hit the like button. Thank you very much. We greatly appreciate it.
Keep us where you have put us. Anybody paying attention on the X platform, when X puts out anything about the Kings and their opponents, this show, post-game show, shows up under that thread, and that is largely because of all of you. So please keep giving us those likes, thumbs up, retweets. They help tremendously.
All right, everyone. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Sean Salisbury, 3:00. I can't wait. Make it a good evening, everybody. Bye-bye now.